was never really good playing role of the puppet. Too busy being me, to be concerned with perception of the public. Everyone is buzzing, but everybody ain't thinking about a budget. I want ownership in something. Niggas get
Welcome back to the channel, and today we are here to discuss the X-Men character Vulcan, the brother of Scott Summers. Vulcan is considered to be an Omega-level mutant. Let's dive into his lore. Vulcan, Gabriel Summers, is a fictional character appearing in American comic books published by Marvel Comics. He first appeared in X-Men Deadly Genesis #1, January 2006. He is the third Summers brother to be revealed, the younger brother of X-Men characters, Cyclops and Havoc. Though a third Summers brother was mentioned years before by Sinister during an encounter with Cyclops, Vulcan first appeared in X-Men Deadly Genesis #1, a story written by Ed Brubaker that ran from January to July 2006. Vulcan then appeared in the Rise and Fall of the Shi'ar Empire storyline, also written by Brubaker, in the Uncanny X-Men issues number 475 to 486, September 2006 to July 2007. Vulcan's history began on the Shi'ar throne world as the unborn child of Christopher Summers, later known as Corsair, and Catherine Summers, parents of Cyclops and Havoc. Catherine was pregnant when the Summerses were abducted by Ken, Magister of the Shi'ar Imperium. The unborn child was seemingly killed when the Mad Emperor, in retaliation for an attempt by Corsair to escape, stabbed Catherine and killed her. The fetus was removed from Catherine's lifeless body and placed in an incubation accelerator, which is used to breed slaves. As a result, the child was aged to the prime of adolescence. Sent to Earth to become a slave for Eric the Red, the Emperor's hand on Earth, he escaped and was found by Moira MacTaggart with little or no memories of who he was or where he came from. She took him as her ward and instructed him in the use of his nascent powers. He claimed his name was Gabriel, but he chose the code name of Vulcan from a book on Roman mythology, and Charles Xavier recognized his mental imprint as being related to Cyclops, and his age suggests he is older. Vulcan became part of a team of X-Men formed by Petra, Darwin, and Sway that attempted to rescue the original X-Men from the sentient island Krakoa. Viewing Vulcan as a menace, Krakoa sent a human-shaped volcano to deal with his team, killing the two women and leaving Darwin and Vulcan for dead. Believing the X-Men had abandoned him, he returned from his space exile to exact revenge on them, killing longtime X-Man Banshee in the process, attempting to kill Wolverine, and even kidnapping Marvel Girl and Cyclops. After Xavier's deception had been exposed, Marvel Girl reached into Vulcan's mind and released the subconscious, inert form of Darwin, which Vulcan expelled from his body. Using this opportunity, the X-Men attacked him as they deemed him too dangerous to be left alone. Vulcan easily repelled their attack and fled the planet, renouncing Cyclops as his brother, and headed for space with the vision of Ken killing his mother raging in his mind, bent on revenge. On his way to the Shi'ar galaxy, he learned that Ken was in a coma and was no longer the ruler of the Shi'ar. He refocused his anger on the then-current ruler, Ken's sister Lilandra. He captured a Shi'ar warbird and its crew and learned of Lilandra's sister Deathbird, who was in exile. As he made his way towards the Shi'ar galaxy, he destroyed the stargates behind him to hinder the X-Men he knew would be coming, which brought him to the attention of the Shi'ar Imperial Guard. Impulse was killed and several other members were seriously injured as the Imperial Guard engaged him, but Gabriel was ultimately defeated by Gladiator, losing his left eye as a result. Under Kator's orders, he was taken to the prison orbiting Fijim. After spending an unknown amount of time in the prison, Gabriel was released by a secret order of Shi'ar. Unsatisfied with Lilandra's peaceful intentions for the Empire, this secret order wished to restore the warlike ways of Ken and brought him to meet Deathbird. Deathbird managed to convince him to at least delay his plan for vengeance after the two became romantically involved. Vulcan used his powers to heal Ken's injuries. Afterward, a grateful Ken asked Vulcan to take his sister's hand in marriage. After his wedding, Vulcan attempted to kill Professor Xavier by throwing him into the Macron crystal, killed Ken, and named himself Emperor of the Shi'ar. Amid a battle between the Shi'ar troops loyal to Lilandra, with Corsair's Starjammers and X-Men, and Shi'ar troops loyal to Ken, Corsair was killed by Vulcan when Corsair commanded Vulcan, as his father, to stop his senseless violence. The civil war between Vulcan's forces and those loyal to the deposed Lilandra continued to rage on. Led by his brother Havok and the Starjammers, Lilandra's forces gradually whittled away at Vulcan's, which were plagued by defections. The Shi'ar, contrary to Vulcan's expectations, were not happy to have an outsider as their ruler. Vulcan was discouraged by this, but Deathbird convinced him that they would come to accept him in time. Warned in advance of a rebel raid on Feather's Edge, Vulcan and his fleet ambushed the Starjammers. However, in the middle of the battle, his ship, the Hammer, was destroyed by the Sayar Tal, translating as Death to the Shi'ar. Vulcan and Gladiator attacked the leader of the Sayar Tal and were easily defeated, whereupon they retreated deeper into Shi'ar space. Marvel Girl made contact with the eldest Sayar Tal and discovered their true origin. The Sayar Tal were originally called the Makron. Early in their history, the Shi'ar attacked them, killing a great number of their people and forcing the rest to flee for their lives. Eventually, the Shi'ar settled on their planet, took the Makron crystal as their own, and passed down the legend of the Makron crystal as a sacred gift from their deities, Shara and Kithri. The Makron then changed their names to the Sayar Tal and devoted their culture and society to the destruction of the Shi'ar Empire. With their first attack, they destroyed Feather's Edge by transporting a star to obliterate it, after which Vulcan made contact with the Starjammers to call a temporary ceasefire. Under the ceasefire, the Shi'ar and the Starjammers decided to take out the finality, thus crippling the Sayar's biggest weapon. Once Havok and Vulcan were in the position to destroy the finality, the eldest Sayar tried to stop them. Once Vulcan figured out how the eldest was powered, he severed the connection the eldest had with his brothers, making him powerless. Once the connection was severed, the Sayar became unorganized, and the tide of the battle shifted in favor of the Shi'ar. The Shi'ar then proceeded to attack both the Sayar and the Starjammers. Meanwhile, Vulcan blasted Havok into a sun. Vulcan decided to use the finality to destroy the Sayar by using the weapon to place a star in the middle of their fleet. Alex returned and, having absorbed enough power to hurt him, decided to put an end to his brother. While they battled, Rachel and Corvus tried but failed to stop the beacon that would initiate the attack by the Shi'ar. The Shi'ar Imperial Guard ended Alex's battle with Vulcan by appearing with the Starjammers in captivity, threatening to kill them. Before surrendering, Alex destroyed the finality. With Alex and the Starjammers in custody, Vulcan declared that he would return the Shi'ar Empire to its former glory. Vulcan began an aggressive war of conquest to expand the Shi'ar Empire, occupying, among other races, the Xenox. All the while, he became obsessed with making Havok acknowledge his superiority, which Havok refused to do. The Starjammers escaped their prison, nearly killing Vulcan in the process and severely wounding Deathbird, but were forced to flee to the Kree Imperium. Vulcan launched a surprise attack on the Kree, now ruled by Black Bolt and the Inhumans, sparking a war between the two empires. The Imperial Guard retrieved Lilandra, who Vulcan planned to execute. However, he was stopped by one of his admirals, stating that by doing so would only make her a martyr and incite factions loyal to her to overthrow him around a similar figurehead. Gabriel then abducted and attacked Adam Warlock. Soon enough, Lilandra was assassinated during an attempt to usurp Vulcan. Immediately, a civil war ignited in the Imperium between factions loyal to her and Vulcan. Though advised by the fraternity of Raptors and his admirals to sue for peace and return to their planets to restore order, Vulcan refused to listen and flew off to engage the Inhumans. He found Black Bolt preparing to arm the Inhumans' secret weapon, the T-bomb. Believing the Inhuman intended to destroy his empire, Vulcan engaged the Silent King. During the battle, the T-bomb detonated, and both rulers disappeared in the resulting explosion that tore a hole in the fabric of space and time, which would become known as the Fault. Gladiator took Vulcan's place as Majester of the Shi'ar in order to prevent another civil war. His wife was later abducted by the Providian, as she was pregnant with their child, a mutant Shi'ar hybrid with great potential. Vulcan survived the detonation of the bomb, which had opened a rift into another reality. Floating through the Fault, Vulcan was pulled away by tentacles into the mouth of a giant alien creature. While inside, he was vivisected by 3 progenitors sent by Orbis Stellaris, who wanted to study him and see if he would be useful. They tinkered with his mind, separating all that was good within him from his truly broken and twisted self. They sent him back to his universe with his memories of this erased, seemingly as a changed man with a whole new and different personality and outlook on life, while trapping his true persona within his mind, only to be unleashed through great emotional turmoil or when they deemed fit in accordance with their mysterious plans. Vulcan returned to Earth and rejoined his family, who in the interim had turned Krakoa into a mutant nation. Distrusting the island, Gabriel made his home in the Summer House, a Krakoan habitat on the blue area of the moon. While Vulcan was accepted by his family, it was clear his psyche was still damaged. He created energy constructs of his old friends, the deceased Sway and Petra, and spent most of his time getting drunk with them. Believing this was his mind's way of slowly healing, his family indulged his fantasies. Despite the fact that the event had been erased from his memories, Gabriel experienced nightmares of the Fault shortly before a brood invasion of Krakoa. Vulcan began to have even more visions of his time in the Fault and of the interdimensional aliens. After multiple nights of partying and drinking with Sway and Petra in the Summer House on the blue area of the moon, the visions disturbed him enough to provoke him to leave and take a walk. Vulcan was present in the final battle in Otherworld between the X-Men and the Swordbearers of Krakoa against the Swordbearers of Arakko, the first Horsemen of Apocalypse, the forces of Arakko, the Amenthean Daemons, and the Summoners. He, along with many other Omega-level mutants, later used their powers to terraform Mars to create a new home for Arakko. Vulcan's psyche soon began to rapidly deteriorate, causing him to revert to his old self. When aid from the Scarlet Witch made resurrecting the real Petra and Sway possible, Professor Xavier and Cyclops attempted to break through to him. Vulcan declared his candidacy for Magneto's seat, making his case before the Council. The seat would eventually go to his great-niece Hope Summers. Following his exile from the Summer House, Vulcan made his way to Arakko and began harassing Shi'ar visitors, declaring himself the rightful Magister of the Shi'ar Empire. After a brawl with Sunspot and Thunderbird, he was incapacitated by Cable and taken into SWR custody. Abigail Brand, head of SWR, offered Vulcan a place among her new X-Men team, which was to be active on Arakko and provide a positive example for the warlike Arachii mutants. Quickly realizing that she wasn't using Vulcan to his full potential, Abigail offered to help him learn more about his powers. Vulcan challenged Tarn, the two negating each other's powers. While Vulcan struck the first blow, Tarn quickly dismantled him, brutally beating him to death. Eventually, Vulcan later resurfaced after he had returned to his full potential, and later reappeared at the diplomatic ring. Vulcan is an Omega-level mutant, though not originally. He was elevated to Omega level when he was exposed to a massive burst of mutant energy that was expelled from mutant kind on M-Day.